where you're located, the name of your business, and then we'll get further into our definite podcast and what we like to talk about.
Thank you for having me, Javinka. I'm Bob Bush, the CEO of Mutombo Coffee. The location question is always an interesting one because we're located everywhere. We source our coffee and cocoa from 8 African countries and 3 Latin American countries. And we sell globally into everywhere from the Middle East to Asia into the United States. And so I am constantly either working on the side of supply or working on the side of demand. In the United States, we have a roastery network that starts in Las Vegas, that runs across the United States, and ends in New Orleans. We have a fulfillment center in Memphis, Tennessee, et cetera. So, literally, when you ask me where I'm located, if you're asking about me, the joke is, well, where is Bob today, right? Today, I am in Orlando at the Four Seasons. I will be on a plane shortly thereafter on my way to Atlanta and then Denver and some other places. I am right outside, about 30 minutes from the airport, I think, and that can change day to day. Our business is about social impact. My
Yes.
partner, Dikembe Mutombo, I've known for several decades. He was a global humanitarian and NBA Hall of Famer. Unfortunately, he passed about 6 months ago.
Mhm.
Um, and our vision is to be the most socially impactful coffee company in the world. And our mission is to do that through great conversations where it's not just about the coffee, it's about how coffee can be used to create community and collaborations and productivity.
But what inspired you to be a part of this journey?
Well, I was inspired by the 30 years of work that Dikembe had already done through his foundation.
Okay.
And so he's a very passionate person and had a personal reason why he was so passionate about the Congo. He came to the United States as a teenager to go to Georgetown. He was blessed with 7'2" height, but did not play basketball in his first year at Georgetown. He was a very studious person, a smart young man with ambitions, and he was considering becoming a medical doctor. He was on a State Department scholarship, not a basketball scholarship, when he went to Georgetown. And so, watching his career progression as he moved from being just a basketball player to a global humanitarian was truly inspirational. Now, I had known him since we were both teenagers, but I had taken a more of a commercial business investment banking path. I
Mhm.
went to Wall Street, and when we were together about 5 years ago, I was working for the government of Dubai, an advisor to the prime minister, and he was sitting on the Special Olympics committee. And
Yeah.
so over lunch and dinner, we started talking about ways in which we collaborate. And it became apparent that his passion and my sense of purpose. So I'd like to say that he's clearly he's the face of the brand. We put his name on the tin, so to speak. And my job was to make sure that those trains ran on time. And so his passion and my purpose were this, very complementary partnership. And we were looking for a product that would allow us to be supportive of African commerce. So the
Mm.
foundation is about charity, but as a social enterprise, this is about commerce over charity. This is about teaching farmers how to make their own money, not giving them grants, etc. And we're intentional about that. We like to identify forms and cooperatives where women play a significant role because the women are the glue in their communities. They carry what we call a double burden, which
Yeah.
is not only are they harvesting the beans, but their mothers and their sisters and their caretakers, all of that combined. So they have very long days. And so we're intentional about looking for a great coffee. First, the coffee's got to be great. And
Yes.
how we know we have a great cause because we know that the demand that we're creating, the work that we're doing, is going to be very impactful in these villages. And then with my partner's celebrity status, we knew that we could bring attention to it.
Yeah.
He had a wonderful career and he's got a lot of friends. One of the benefits, Javinka, of being old is that we both have a lot of friends. We have a very good social network.
That's
And
awesome.
so his combination of being able to go on ESPN and get the Charles Barkleys and the Shaquille O'Neals of the world to interview, and the world that I come from, which is on the commercial and financial side, we were able to really get the company launched. Now you got to be careful though, because we decided to do this, and 6 months later the world stopped,
Yes.
COVID,
Okay. Yes.
and it's tough to do international trade. One, it's tough to do international trade in Africa. Two, it's really, really tough to do African trade in Africa during COVID because the whole world shut down. And
Yes.
then,
Yes.
unfortunately, a couple of years into building the business, Mr. Mutombo was struck with cancer. So we
Mm.
had COVID and cancer that have impacted our business. But we're still going strong. We are continuously adding new suppliers and adding more demand. And so the business it's been challenging, but it's been flourishing. And because we are true to our mission, true to our cause, and true to your podcast, true to the vision that we set out 5 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah. And it's interesting when people talk about COVID and the pandemic, and how I've always said that when you had a business, or if you had a business during that time, it could make or break you, right? Because if you were someone like you said, like yourself, having to go to Africa or having to travel in order to get the business out there, or to meet and greet individuals that you'd like to partner with, that was a challenge. So you guys stepping over that, and then, God rest his soul, Matambo, coming in and now having some health issues. What's keeping you going?
Well, what keeps you going, which is why I was happy to come on your show, is you have to have a vision. And that vision is we know where we're going, we know why we're getting there. And there's some very practical things that have to happen
Yeah.
to get there. So, we are very intentional, and we have processes and we have systems. And in a very odd way, COVID, actually helped us be very refined in our thinking and our steps because we didn't have the luxury of sort of easing into this.
Yes.
And as an entrepreneur and as an investor, whether it's COVID or cancer or issues with your team or slow adaptability with your customers or what have you, just know that they're going to be shocks, right?
Yes.
Building a resilient business, building a business where you are thoughtful and intentional. Um, this is the true capital. A lot of small businesses are concerned about having enough money, and obviously, money is an accelerant. But if you
Yes.
don't have the right kind of alignment, and if you don't have the right kind of strategy, if you don't have the right kind of why, it doesn't matter how much money you have in the world, that business long term is not likely to be successful. Or if it is successful for a minute, it's not sustainable in its
Yeah.
success. And so, what keeps us going is that there was a meeting of the minds, there was a meeting of the spirit, and then we put a plan together. And that plan baked into it very early on the requirement, the necessity of having contingencies and having resilience and leveraging financial capital and social capital and spiritual capital and emotional capital. All of those elements went into our business model.
What parts did you two play in actually getting this pushed off immediately and so quickly?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack in what you're saying, Javinka.
Yeah.
I think every business needs to be able to distinguish itself. It doesn't matter if that distinction comes because you have a famous partner. It doesn't matter if that distinction comes because you have a truly innovative product, but you've got to have an edge. This is the world is competitive.
Yeah.
So, what is your advantage? And yes, we had the advantage of both being in our 50s. Experience matters. We had the advantage of him being able to be the face and 35, 40 years of authentic work and reputation, as did I, right? We had the advantage of being able to, even despite COVID, one of the blessings for us is that when a lot of the coffee companies, coffee shops, and roasters were not doing any business, if they were really, really busy, they would not have actually been able to take our calls. We use the fact that things are at a standstill to negotiate with manufacturers opportunities to work with us because they were more interested. Who are these crazy people calling, talking about coffee when there's nobody in the office,
Yes.
right? To consume it. You know, our initial interest was to put the coffee in the arenas around the NBA. Well, guess
Mhm.
what? Everything went to Orlando. It was in a bubble, right?
Yes.
So there's always going to be advantages if you're smart about it. There's always going to be disadvantages. There's no perfect time. There's no perfect brand ambassador. There's no perfect situation. The challenges are going to come. And so, absolutely, it was an advantage that my partner had put in 40 years of authenticity and work. But ask him if that was overnight. No, right? Um, you mentioned sort of the leg up, right? So hands, you still have to have a brain, you still have to have a network, you have all of these other elements that need to come together for something to be successful. And
Yeah.
so, and we all have those things. We may not realize that we do. Maybe the platform that I'm able to speak on and he's able to speak on, I was able to speak on, might be greater in some sense. But in your community, are you the person at your school or in your office or in your neighborhood? We all have these advantages and edges. Some have bigger platforms than others, but I can assure you, before we could go out and try to conquer the world of coffee, first try to conquer your own neighborhood. First try to
Absolutely.
conquer your city. First try to conquer your state, right? And so you build up these capabilities, you build up this experience, and that none of that comes easily. That is work, and we are
Yes.
still putting in the work.
Absolutely. And I tell you, I can only imagine. I mean, you're all over in different countries. I can only imagine the work that you have to do in order to be sustainable and still have that vision and passion. As far as being like an unexpected impact, how has Matumbo Coffee impacted you beyond the business?
Thank you for that. You always have to have a learner's mindset, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I brought a learner's mind, a mindset of learning into the business, as did my partners, as did my Mr. Mutombo. And then
Yeah.
there's the skill set, right? And so the combination with the mindset, a skill set, and a good community that wants to support what you're doing,
Yeah.
we're pretty good. Um, the unexpected impact bit is expect the unexpected. Just expect it.
Yes.
So how does it personally affected me? The In many ways, but I've seen the movie before. I'm
Yeah.
led by the vision. I just assume that the currents are going to wax and wane and things are going to happen. And so, fortunately, my team is built for it. My investors are built for it. We're hoping that our customers and our partners are also built for it. And so, once you have the mindset that even if it's unexpected, it's just another problem to solve.
I know that I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I always have a favorite question of my visionaries, such as yourself, of my leaders, and I'm going to pop it on the screen. What are the greatest joys of what you do?
Thank you for that. I haven't had that question yet. I have had the question about happiness, and I think there's truly a difference between happiness and joy. And the distinction is happiness requires happenings. You're always needing something to happen. And if you have your happiness from happenings, you're going to be chasing things all the time. And so now joy is different. And joy cometh in the morning for those readers that know what I'm talking about. I
Yeah.
think you might as well. And so there's an inner purpose that when your calling matches your mission, and your mission is in alignment with your vision, and there's an alignment between who you are as a spiritual being, who you are as a thinking being, how you put your hands to work, how do you put your heart into things. When those things are connected, I think that then you can truly find joy, because the joy is going to lead you to, there, you have all these different visionaries that come on your show.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm convinced that all visions lead to the same destination. And that destination is ultimately to glorify God. And so when you are able to recognize that it's not about the happenings, it's about the connection, literally from head to toe, and having that aligned, and recognize that all of this is ultimately around the fact that we are spiritual beings in human form,
Yes.
I believe you can find joy.
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your vision and becoming a Vision Pro yourself.